Hey everyone, what's happening? This is the TN Mortgage Podcast, episode number 26, with your host and your favorite mortgage broker in Dublin, Ireland, John Coleman.
Hey, how are we, everyone? John Coleman here, and looking forward to our number 26 now. Hey, who would have thought?
Yeah, we're getting up there.
I think we should officially stop counting now.
Yeah, exactly. Well, people seem to be enjoying these podcasts and listening. We thank everyone for doing that. So we'll keep going as long as they don't kick us off, huh?
Okay. You're the boss here, man. So whatever you say goes.
And fantastic. Yeah, and today on TN Mortgage 26, we had an interesting new slant where we wanted to talk about reviews a little bit, because you just hit an epic milestone where you just hit review number 200 and beyond on Google.
Yes. Proud to say, I kind of proud. There's a number of feelings when I saw that. Like, one was proud, then sort of humble, and then sometimes I'd say this to you many times. Sometimes I read the reviews, and a lot of them I would get a lot of credit because I might be the face of the person they might talk to first and the person I might talk to last. But without the people I have with me, none that they will be coming, because there's so many moving parts in all of this that you're only as good as the team you have around you. I know that sounds like such an incredible cliche, but I drive the standards in terms of communication and in terms of updating, in terms of just attention to detail. But without that being done, these reviews wouldn't be as strong as I would like them to be, basically. So they're humble. Sometimes I read them and go, oh my God, I was reading them. Would I delete those? So the gratitude that you get from clients at the point whereby you're helping them, one of the biggest things. Sometimes I have to say, listen, we only do, there's a famous, you might know this, there's a famous Irish old footballer, a guy called Roy Keane, by the way, right? He's a controversial character here in Ireland, but he's famous one was called, well, I'm only doing my job. Right. So yeah, there is that. So gratitude is obviously touching, but at the same time, that's why you're using our sentences. And as I was saying, if I was reading the reviews myself, I kind of going, how come they always look, sometimes they look too good. And then you wonder sometimes that they've been written by ChatGPT.
Yeah, right.
Oh my God, I'm kind of overwhelmed with what people might say. But at the same time, it is a phenomenal feeling of gratitude when someone's willing to put time and effort into actually, because in life, you do your job. People are busy. So they're just after buying a new home. They have 100 things that still need to be done.
Yeah.
So there's a whole heap of things that need to be done. So the fact that they go out of their way to take 5 minutes, 10 minutes to put a review together is very, very, I suppose, the great reward. That we deliver a lot of messages along the way that are frustrating to people in terms of, I can have a question, there's a delay here. So at the very end, when there's still all that gratitude and they've gone through all sort of painful process, and it can be painful, that it's my favorite part of the job, shall we say.
And to your point too, like a lot of your reviews and the clients that are happy that write these reviews, they don't just say certain amount of stars like good job, thank you. They write, and it's from the heart, it's custom, it's they put thought into it. And so that goes to what you're saying. It's a long, arduous, stressful process. But I think outside looking in, I think that high bar, that standard you set that you say is just doing your job, is exceptional service and communication. And when you communicate with people and you let them know what's going on and you're always there for them, good or bad, they feel like you really care and you're their partner in the process.
You've heard me say this a number of times, Norm, that like we know this inside out because this is what we do every single day. But our clients who are buying a home for the first time, they're in a vacuum, right? They're in a vacuum of, like, I remember, I think I said, definitely told you this story, but I bought my first home and I was a broker for a year. I got sick with the nerves of what I was doing, right? I was in the industry. So I can relate to the sense of being scared, maybe the better word. You're suddenly the concept of what you're doing can be overwhelming. So you've got 100 things going on in your head. You're worrying about X, Y, and Z. So to have someone that you know is on your side and that's available, are we available 24 hours a day for people? Absolutely not. But they can always book a call with us. We respond to email within hours of getting them. So they will always, our aim is that they always feel that they have someone who's on their side. I love hearing people say to me, God, you're the only person we felt who was there for us all the time. So I don't want to badmouth them or any shape or form, but their level of communication is slightly, they work in a different way, but that's their industry. I can only live and die by the service that I provide, and it will hopefully continue to do so. So it is really rewarding when you see that.
Yeah, it must be. And also to your point, to highlight your team, because this is something, and we'll get into some specific keywords that we're not smart enough to figure this out. Google provides these, but the keywords that they see over and over, I'll go through those in a moment, but team is a big one. So
yeah, I'll reiterate that again. The team of people I have with me are all incredibly motivated, but they're all driven with the same desire that I have to make sure that clients, when they're finished, are raving about us. We want raving fans, in effect. It's great for our self-esteem in terms of giving great service. And you feel good when people rate you that highly. And from a purely selfish point of view, from a business point of view, the service you give, the more people who are going to be out there telling other people about you. So it's a self-serving, hopefully continuing successful business model, but it starts and ends with giving good service to your clients. I think everyone that I had work with me had bought into that ethos.
100%. And yeah, and I realize now that we're 5 minutes in the podcast and I completely missed the headline, because it's not just that you received review number 200, it's the average rating, which is remarkable as well. And I didn't even mention that. So even with more than 200 reviews now, your average Google rating is 5 stars, which is, of course, I don't want to neglect to speak on that.
Well, okay. Well, I don't, obviously, and we get the reviews and we would look at them every time. Now could be slightly off here. I think of those 500 or those 200 reviews, I think it might be 201. I think there's 190. That's good. It sounds sad that I know this. About 198 5-star reviews. I think there's 2 4-star reviews, and then there's one person who put a 3-star review in.
Yep.
Which disappoints me. I could see where he came from. And when I'm more than that, I'd like to maybe talk on that, because at the end of the day, 200 people that were incredibly happy, and there was one person that was only averagely happy, and maybe
only mediocrely happy, if that's a word. So yeah, let's start with the crappy review, so to speak. It's not a 1-star where someone really was pissed.
That sounds large, but certainly I remember talking to you about it when I got there. I was this was just to kind of give you, obviously I'm not going to give away any personal information here, but it was a client that he actually was working in a bank himself, okay? And he came to us. He had an unusual set of circumstances. They were kind of both self-employed contractors, were not European citizens. There was a lot of unusual parts. We definitely dropped the ball, right? In that he told us from there was a contractor point of view, and we didn't remember that piece of information. So we definitely I put my hand up and say we made a mistake. But at the time, you might remember, this is probably a year and a half ago now, interest rates were basically changing every second week, right? And what we were trying to do was get him the best possible deal at the moment in time when he was closing, right? Which was a very difficult act to play at that point in time, because, well, it's not, when you're moving from one bank to another, it's not like you're changing an electricity supplier. It's literally it's a cumbersome process. So we had 2 options on the table with him, and then ultimately, when the time came from the deal to close, the bank he was working for had the best deal on the market. So he ended up going with them. And so he kind of wrote a review saying, my communication was excellent. I responded to everything really, really quickly. but we had to repeat ourselves twice, right? And ultimately, we got a better deal elsewhere. We didn't tell people that he got the better deal with the bank that he was working with. But also, the other to do was say, listen, when if someone's not happy, you kind of go, well, accept it. And I put my hand up completely. I missed this that he had told me something, and he had to tell me twice, which I don't believe he should have had to tell me twice. So you kind of have to own those mistakes, and then at the same time, just congratulate him on getting the house, because ultimately that's what it's all about. He got the best possible deal, but it was a moment in time whereby if he'd waited if it was 2 weeks, the deal I had on the table would have been better than what he had. So, listen, you can't please absolutely everyone. I've pleased 201 out of 202 people. So I'll take that standard every day.
So to your point with this guy in the 3-star review, number one, a review is his forum for expressing how he feels, right? So there's no wrong interpretation. So if he thinks he had a 3-star experience, he had a 3-star experience. But in reality, there's certain things within your control and without your control. So with any review, good or bad, yes, you made a mistake. You're human, right? But there was also a lot of factors outside of your control that you were doing your best to. So that's where you take these reviews with a grain of salt. I always said,
and you could say the same with the 5-star reviews as well. Are we perfect? Absolutely not, right?
yeah.
But ultimately, we're getting a 5-star review because the overall experience has been very positive for people. But so by the same token, I don't want to say we're perfect every moment or every day. That would, accurate. So maybe we should only getting the 4.5.
Well, it's a very imperfect process, right? And you do your best to navigate it and to guide everyone through it and communicate. But I always say with reviews, like, because my paradigm with reviews is coming from writing books, and I've written a bunch of books, none of them very good, all of them self-published on Amazon, and you live and die by the reviews, especially when you start, and you take it so personally. But I always say now, like, you could throw out the top 10% and the bottom 10%, and what's left remaining is probably a pretty good, accurate depiction of who you are and what kind of service you provide.
I was upset with that 3-star review. Well, I get that I took it to the point of going, okay, well, you try to please everyone all the time. Yeah. Obviously, I'm in a business that's not always possible. But when you're giving bad news, as long as you give it in a way that's respectful of the person, not people can choose to take the message. Like sometimes, as the broker, you're the messenger, so the messenger can often get blamed, if that makes any sense. Because you're giving bad information, or giving information that they didn't want to hear. But you take that on the chin. That's the nature of being the middleman of all sorts. But but I definitely took that 3-star to heart for a couple. Because you care. So there's going home. You laugh at this, by the way. For my Sunday dinner, mom and dad, and I said, "Oh, I got a 3-star. What's that mean? Please, mom, comfort me." I knew you right.
Well, even the 4-star, I know those bother you because they bother you only because they say, John did a great job. His team was good. We got a good rate. The process was wonderful. 4 stars. And you're going, well, why not 5, right?
No, but I would told myself in the pretty like 4 stars is, if someone is like, and I have looked at them and there's only a few of them, and you would wonder why it wasn't 5. But at the end of the day, there might be of the view, and I would certainly subscribe to this view. Like a 5-star view, maybe something should be absolutely, to use an American term, awesome, which I believe is overused, that word, by the way. But the word is sort of an awesome to be something that it's actually okay. It's outside the norm, right?
Yeah.
I believe that the service my clients get is what I expect them to get. I fully believe that's what they should get. So a 4-star review in that case, in my opinion, is we're meeting the standards that I would set for everyone, right? That I would expect to get. The 5-star is, well, ultimately that's what people feel, that when they've got the home, there's a huge amount of gratitude. So there is a feeling of this is worthy of 5 stars, right? I'm not stressed if someone puts me, if it gives me a 4 or a 5. But when you read the reviews that say that are 4, you kind of go, okay, well, why is there? Why will happen to me? But I would
What
get
can I do for 5? Yeah, yeah. There's just statistical anomaly. It's hard to say with any, but when you get that amount of reviews and to have 198 out of 201 5-star, absolutely incredible. So kudos to you.
But ultimately, as I said, it's what I have behind the people I have behind me who literally do. This is going to sound terrible. Who do 90% of the heavy lifting, right? As in the coordination, all that kind of dealing with everything, making sure everything moves smoothly from an information flow with the bank to the solicitor. I come in. I'm the advisor. I help educate people and help get them ready. And then I come in at the end and take the glory, which is probably a little bit mean. But I also want to give the bad news as well. So I'm worthy of that. So in truth, without the people I have, this might sound, I do like this fact. I'm in now kind of created an entity for almost over 6 years at this stage. Not one person has left, Norm. I take great pride now. I can be a very impatient person, but try and drive the standards. But I think fundamentally, I have a good heart, and I think people that work with me see that, and that you can see I've written on. But I take great pride in the fact that no one has left. And so every year we're all getting better.
Yeah, that's a great point. It's a very cohesive, loyal organization. And I could speak for that. You've been overly loyal to me. You haven't fired me yet, so that's a wonderful thing.
You are an integral part of our team, mate. So don't say you're.
So check this out. You'll love this. You were just talking about your organization, how cohesive it is, how everyone's loyal, and how they do. Your team does a lot of the work behind the scenes. So I mentioned this to you that Google spits out the top words or themes for each review. So over more than 200 reviews, I'll list these to you. You don't know these yet. I haven't prepared these for you, but I wanted to get your reaction. By far, you'll love this. By far, with 89 times out of 201 reviews, the word team was mentioned.
Okay.
And that's by far the most mentioned word, so they recognize your team and your team's doing an amazing job. The other top ones were expertise with 17, stress with 17, meaning not that stress, not that John gave me a bunch of stress. Yeah. Documents was 11, which leads to the stress they're having. First time buyer, patience was up there, confident, and organized were the top words. Communication is not listed. No.
God, I've seen that a lot actually. I'm gonna have words with Google on that.
It's probably just a who knows what they highlight and don't. I'm sure it's not completely accurate, but yeah, that's interesting. And just a quick snapshot.
Team would be the one that I would, if you'd ask me what the go-to response for people would have been, team would have definitely been the word I would have picked out. I would have thought communication because I pride ourselves on that, and that is something I've seen in a number of reviews. So
they might not even track that word for some reason. Who knows? But I thought that was, from a team standpoint, I thought you would love that Google recognizes that, and it blows away any other word.
I will certainly. The world is a crazy place. You can get to that level of analysis. Now, I wouldn't even thought them back, to be brutally honest with you. So, and wow, that's they'll all be looking for a pay rise now. So, I'm worthy of it.
Well, so to wrap up our podcast here in the theme of reviews, maybe this time next year we'll be doing a podcast with your 500th review, hopefully. But one thing, since we didn't speak highly of you enough, and let's blow up your ego even more, I found today an article, bestinireland.com, and they have an article specifically about the best mortgage brokers in Dublin. And it's the top 12, and you were actually rated number 5, which is more impressive than it sounds, because the other 4 in front of you were like giant, mortgage companies. And I think you were, as an individual independent broker, I think you were the top one on that list.
But I automatically worry about who are the 4 people ahead of me, how competitive I can be from a sporting point of view. But wow, that's I wasn't aware of that, Norm. So that's nice to hear. But at the same time, you can't really rest on your laurels in any shape or form, right? There are still 4 brokers in theory ahead of us. I am spending so much more time actively looking at the processes, modern technology. How am I going to make this better, simpler, more cohesive journey for the customers? So that's lovely to hear, but I certainly won't be resting on my laurels just because it says I'm number 5 in Dublin, because number 5 isn't number 1, shall we say? So
well, there's 2 ways we could go about this. We could actually day by day, brick by brick, client by client, try to rise in the rankings, or as part of my service, my marketing services for you, I could just find the top 4 and just take them out of commission and make a little hospital job, make sure they're not working anymore, and by default, you're number 1.
I'm a big for in competition, but I don't think winning by foul means that wouldn't fit well with me. I'd like to be the top based on absolute merit, and we are growing probably in spite of myself in terms of the numbers that we have. We are growing. I didn't see myself looking to grow or build a company, but that's really what we are at this point. We're not. It's not just John Coleman with a couple of people. It's a team of 12 really, really strong people. And that, who knows where we'll be in 12 months' time with the numbers. Like what I'm doing in the background with the technology is giving us the capability of bringing more business in that we can service. When you bring more business in that you can service, you need more people to make sure that none of the standards drop, basically. So while the technology is helping from a capacity point of view, there's a sort of, you've got to make sure you don't jump ahead whereby all that's coming in is to business and your standards drop. You'll see that with banks sometimes, but say a certain bank may have the best rate in the market at a moment in time, or maybe lending the most amount of money, or just for some reason in vogue for a particular reason, right? Suddenly, everyone wants them. Everyone wants that particular deal, that suddenly their service goes from being the best bank from a service point of view to being get an answer for 2 months. So that I prefer to be losing business and not and continue to maintain, because as you can see, we're talking about the reviews here, right? Reviews based on service, right? My reputation, is like a quick fix or quick piece of business is not a long-term strategy. You want the service to be absolutely on the money every single time, every single day. So you should only be taking on business that you can actually cater for in a proper way. But obviously with technology, it is helping to keep the standards because we're becoming more efficient in every single area of the business. Mm-hmm. But there is a lot of kind of, you just need to be careful about what you're taking on.
And so people know also, that your listeners, your clients, anyone, all of that technology and all of what you're talking about is investing in building systems and processes to ensure a good experience and high satisfaction and communication and touch points. And that's because you care. So all this, the fancy business talk, it's really because you care. And that's why you support a big team and you watch them grow and you invest in their growth and you implement these new technologies and systems to make sure clients still have a great experience because you care, and the reviews reflect that. So keep up the good work, and hopefully this time next year we're doing a podcast with the 500th review, huh?
Listen, let's take one day at a time. That's a big jump in 1 year. But listen, it is, and thank you for bringing it up, because it's not something that I do always tell people that what we're doing here is we're not really selling them anything. Yes, we do charge a small fee, but we're asking them to put their trust in us to represent them, the word I use a lot, to educate them properly as to where they're at. And from like if someone hasn't given you a recommendation, well, Google is a great place to go and actually check us out and check out what people are actually saying. And I do recommend, I always tell you should check us out regardless now, but by telling people to check us out means I need to continue keeping those standards as high as they are for that because it's a positive self-fulfilling prophecy from a business point of view. But it can just as easily become a negative. You really have to make sure your standards are kept at the same high level. Not just because that's what you want to give, because that's what we do want to give, but from a business point of view as well. You live and die by your reputation, Norm, you know?
Yeah. 100%. Well, you're doing something right. And like you said, we won't rest on our laurels. We'll keep focusing on client number 201, 202, 203 for the year reviews.
So time rather than straight.
One at a time. That's the only way to do it. But yeah, and to everyone too that's listening to the Tea and Mortgage podcast, our fun little project, thank you guys. And if you like it and want to share, want to give us a good review, subscribe. We really appreciate it for episode number 26.
Fantastic. Yeah, thanks everyone for listening. It was probably a little bit is it self-adulating? Was there such a word? We're talking about how many reviews we've received, but that's the American way. Yeah, I'm on trouble.
Hey, don't pin it on me. Don't pin it on me.
About that, but I was happy for you. Let you bring it up. You know,
I'm almost officially European now, so I'm like I said, on the correct side of the pond. But yeah, thank you everyone. Episode number 26, and we're looking forward to talking to you next month.
fantastic. Bye for now.